Okay, let's just jump right in. What if everything we think we know about the universe, I mean, everything from the Big Bang to reality itself, what if it's all completely backwards? Today, we're diving into a really radical theory called implosive cosmology. And it asks one heck of a question. What if the universe isn't just a bunch of empty space with stuff in it? What if the universe itself is conscious? So why would anyone even propose an idea that sounds so out there? Well, you have to start with what our best science already tells us. And the funny thing is, it tells us we know almost nothing. Our standard model of cosmology, our best guess, it can only account for about 5% of everything. That's all the stars, the planets, you, me, everything we can see. The other 95%, it's a total mystery. We've just slapped on labels like dark matter and dark energy. So basically, our most successful theory has left us completely in the dark. So here's the roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with those cracks in the standard model, that 95% problem. Then we'll tackle the puzzle of consciousness itself. From there, we'll dive into this new idea of an inward-folding universe. We'll see how it might change how we think about everything, gravity, time, even why suffering exists. And finally, it's really an invitation to just see things in a whole new way. All right, let's start with the big one, the Big Bang Theory. Now, it's been an incredibly successful theory, no doubt. But the argument we're exploring today is that it's built on some seriously shaky ground. And these aren't just little nitpicks, they are fundamental paradoxes that science still can't quite solve. So the standard model gives us a few major headaches. First, you've got the singularity, this idea that everything, the entire universe, burst forth from a point of infinite density. The problem is that breaks the known laws of physics. Then there's the horizon problem. How is the universe so incredibly uniform in temperature, even between regions that are so far apart they could never have been in contact? And then, get this, the flatness problem. The universe's energy density is so perfectly, precisely balanced. It's like balancing a pencil on its point and having it stay there for 14 billion years. The odds of that happening by chance are just astronomically small. So when you look at all these paradoxes together, you have to start wondering, what if it's not the details that are wrong? What if the whole framework, this idea of an outward explosion from nothing, what if that's just the wrong way to look at it? What if we've been reading the whole story backwards? And that leads us to a mystery that's maybe even bigger than dark matter. It's something philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. And this isn't just a puzzle for physics, it's a puzzle for all of science. Let me put it this way. We can map every single neuron that fires in your brain when you look at something red. We can trace all the electricity, all the chemistry, all the physics. But where is the feeling of red? The actual subjective first-person experience of redness? How does a bunch of objective matter doing physical stuff create a subjective feeling? Science has absolutely no answer. And this isn't just one problem. It's a whole bunch of them. You've got what's called the explanatory gap and the qualia problem. That's the mystery of the feeling of red. But then there's the unity problem. How do billions of separate individual neurons create one single unified mind? And maybe weirdest of all, the observer problem from quantum mechanics, which seems to show that reality itself waits for a conscious observer to look at it before it even settles into a definite state. Okay, so we have these massive puzzles in cosmology and in consciousness. This is where implosive cosmology comes in with a really dramatic idea. It says, what if we've had the whole thing upside down from the very beginning? What if consciousness isn't some random thing that matter cooked up? What if matter is something that consciousness cooked up? And the logic behind this is surprisingly simple. Think about it. Every observation we make of a material world, the stars, the planets, even the brain itself, all of it is happening inside our consciousness. The brain we study is just an image in our mind. So the argument goes, it's kind of impossible for the thing being experienced, the brain, to be the source of the experience itself. The creator, which is consciousness, can't be the same thing as the created, which is the material world it's observed. And that brings us to the name implosive cosmology. So forget the idea of a chaotic outward explosion. Instead, Picture a single, unified consciousness that is continuously and intelligently folding inwards on itself. The best way to think about it is like cosmic origami. Every fold creates what looks like a new, separate thing, a new dimension, but it's all still just one single sheet of paper. So, how does this inward folding actually work? Well, according to this theory, reality is built in layers, kind of like a cascade. It all starts with pure awareness, just a state of total blissful unity. That awareness then has an intention, a simple choice: I want to experience. That choice creates mental forms, like basic ideas or archetypes. Those ideas are then charged up with emotional energies, which give them dynamism. From there, you get etheric templates, the actual blueprints for things, which finally crystallize into what we see and touch as solid physical matter. It's a flow from pure spirit down into what we call the real world. Now, if you just go with this idea for a minute, it starts to change how you look at pretty much everything. It even reinterprets the most fundamental forces we know. Let's take gravity, for instance. So, what is gravity in this new model? Well, the standard view says it's a mechanical thing. Mass just bends space-time. But the implosive view sees it as something way more meaningful. It's the deep, inherent longing of every seemingly separate piece of consciousness to return to its source. Gravity isn't a force pushing things around. It's the pull of consciousness calling all of its pieces back home to unity. And it's the same thing with redshift. We're taught that redshift measures how fast galaxies are flying away from us. But what if it's not measuring distance at all? What if it's measuring a galaxy's position on a huge, cosmic spiral journey inward? This could actually solve some major cosmic headaches, like how we found galaxies that seem to be older than the Big Bang itself. In this model, they're not further away in time, they're just on a different loop of the same spiral. This way of thinking doesn't just try to explain physics. It also offers a perspective on one of the deepest, hardest questions we all face. If the universe has any kind of meaning or purpose, then why is there so much suffering? The answer, in this view, is all about the nature of experience. The theory suggests a really powerful idea. For consciousness to know anything at all, it absolutely needs contrast. This idea of polarity, of duality, light and dark, up and down, good and bad. It's not some mistake or flaw in the system. It's the very engine that creates experience itself. I mean, just think about it. How could you ever really, truly know joy if you'd never experienced sadness? How could you appreciate peace without the contrast of conflict? And to bring it all the way back to the start, how could a single unified consciousness ever know its own unity without first creating the illusion of being separate from itself? And this leads to a massive reframing of suffering. It's not a punishment. It's not proof that the universe is cruel or random. In this model, suffering is just information. It's feedback. It's the pain you feel when some part of consciousness is resisting that natural, inward pull back toward unity. It's like a compass for the soul, always pointing the way back home. So ultimately, implosive cosmology isn't being presented as some new truth you have to believe. It's really just an invitation. It's a choice to try on a new perspective and just see if it makes more sense of the world and maybe our own lives within it. And you know, there's that famous quote by Marcel Proust, and it just fits perfectly here. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Maybe the next great leap forward for us won't come from a bigger telescope, but from a radical shift in how we see everything. So that's what it all boils down to. We're left with this powerful choice. Is the universe a meaningless, random accident, a big explosion in a dead, empty space? Or is it a grand cosmic journey of consciousness, folding inwards to experience, to learn, and ultimately to remember what it is? This theory suggests that that feeling of remembering, of recognition, that's the final destination. The idea is that your search for answers is the universe searching for itself. And in that final moment of recognition, there's really only one thing left to say: welcome home.